Your Kansas City Chiefs dominate on ESPN's all-quarter century team. Let's talk about that.
You're listening to All Chiefed Up.
Good evening, Chiefs Kingdom. How we doing? Hope everybody's doing well. Mike, tonight we're going to talk a little bit about this ESPN all-quarter century team they put out. The Chiefs had quite a few players on there. I think they had at least 8. So they're really showing up, representing Kansas City, baby. We're going to get into that, and we're also going to talk about something that Big Ben had to say about Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. We'll talk about that a little bit, too. Before we get started, do your boys a favor here. Hit the like button real quick. It just takes a second. It'll help get this out to more people. That way, if YouTube's being a little slap nutty, it might go ahead and put it in their algorithm so they can see it anyway. So, yeah. How are we doing, Mike?
Pretty good, pretty good. I haven't seen the list. I've seen a few names, but I didn't get to see the whole list. I'm excited to see it. It goes all the way back to, what, 2000? So they're going to go 2020.
Right.
So this is our entire era. Like, I graduated in 2001. This is about the time that you start, you get out of high school, you let go of the ladies. You're like, you're done with them. You're
That's
not,
when you're just getting started.
I
what
know,
are you talking
but
about?
you know what I'm saying? Like, you start paying more attention to adult things, right? Like, you're out of high school. It's time to, like, bear down and be a Chiefs fan, like, a total commitment. And so, yeah, I'm excited.
Nerd
But
alert.
we had some good teams, man. We had some good teams with the Vermeil era. So
Absolutely, man. And there's some really cool players that are represented on here. We'll discuss where they are ranked on this. That's something to talk about. But, yeah, it's completely dead right now as far as Chiefs news goes. So we figured we'd have a little fun with this tonight instead of just talking about the same camp battles that we've been talking about for 3 weeks. And also, it's July. Any day now. What, 5 days till July?
yeah, I
So
said it
we're
was
getting to camp.
mid-July in our video
We're
on
getting to
Wednesday,
camp.
Steve. People were laughing
You
about
did.
that. They were
You know
like,
what's funny?
it's mid-July,
Look,
bro. Steve, does it matter? It's the same. It's the middle of
Just,
summer and it sucks. It's hot.
A little inside scoop on that. When you said it, I heard it, and I didn't even correct you. Didn't even care.
Look, sometimes, like there's an actual tactic that goes around sometimes, and you say things that are wrong just to get people fired up. Maybe that was my tactic.
Yeah, for sure.
I wanted everybody with the month police to come get me.
Hey, Stoic says that he's all right with Chiefs news being dead right now. Remember last year. Hey, I'm okay with it too, man. This is the calm before the storm. So this is our couple of weeks just to chill and have a little bit of fun before they start getting into camp. Because once camp kicks off, man, our lives are going to be real busy. And I think right now we can just have fun, talk to everybody, and just have a good live stream here. Make sure to get in the comments. You can chime in, say whatever you want to say. We'll kind of try to get to you guys as much as we can tonight as well, on top of just talking about what we're going to talk about. But real quick, shout out to Ron, been a member for 17 months now. How we doing, sir? Hope you're doing
Ron,
well.
our
Appreciate you
boy
being a
Ron.
member, by the way. Appreciate you being a member. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Let me find this stuff real quick. So just a little scoop here. NFL all-quarter century team, best 53-man roster and coaches. So it says in honor of hitting the quarter century mark, we built a 53-man roster of the best NFL players from the past 25 years. Who makes the team? Mike, this should have been...
Look, I'm guessing, Steve, let's start with quarterbacks. Where did Patrick Mahomes rank? Because I'm guessing Brady is probably number one.
Correct.
I haven't seen the list, but he has to be one, right?
Patrick Mahomes was QB3 on
So
the
why is Patrick Mahomes not QB2?
Well, I mean, there's an argument for QB1, right? But
There's an argument.
We'll let the Brady thing slide. We'll let it slide. He cheated a little here and there, but we'll let it slide. Peyton Manning was actually number 2, which I find ridiculous.
Look, Peyton Manning was a good quarterback in his own right, but I mean, he won what? Did he win 1 or 2?
He won 2. He won 1 with the Colts and 1 with the Broncos. And here's the thing about it. Just I think the reason why Peyton Manning, it's okay to have him at 2 and Mahomes at 3 here, is because Peyton Manning played for 15 years in this quarter century. Mahomes has only played 8 years, 7, which he started. But, I mean, if you want to look at the resumes real quick, obviously everybody knows Tom Brady, the 7-time Super Bowl champion, 3-time MVP, 6-time All-Pro, 89,214 passing yards, 649 passing touchdowns. So he's number 1. Peyton,
Yeah.
64,000 passing yards, 487 passing touchdowns, and 2-time Super Bowl champion, 5-time MVP, which is wild, and 9 All-Pros. Mahomes, of course, he's already at 32,000,
Right.
over 32,000 passing yards, 245 touchdowns, 3-time Super Bowl champion, 2-time MVP, and 3-time All-Pro.
And this is coming
so-
off the cusp of 2 bad seasons, kind of.
Right. And then actually they had a practice squad. They said on the practice squad there would be Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees.
Drew Brees. I was expecting Brees to be up there. I was actually surprised Brees didn't, they probably wouldn't put Brees above Mahomes. I was kind of thinking they'd go that route.
Man, it's weird. We've seen a lot of weird stuff lately because obviously, like we said, it's kind of dead in the NFL right now. So a lot of these kinds of lists are coming out and people are having, football discourse about the list. And even on X, I've seen where there's a little back and forth on certain lists. And people think Dan Marino's ahead of Patrick Mahomes and some crazy stuff that I've seen out there. This one here, knowing that it's going by the year 2000 to 2025, I can be okay with this. I can be okay with him being 3. And the fact that he still be out Rodgers and Brees, that's a good thing because he's only played 7 years.
Right. Rodgers has 1 Super Bowl. I think you have to put him there. A lot of people think Rodgers is better. That he transformed the game. Look, I don't ever remember Rodgers beating up defenses so bad that they transformed every defense in the league to go to a 2-high shell safety.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into
Like
that later.
there's plenty of things like that. So I'm just saying, like, I get the Mahomes thing. I totally get it. And I'm fine putting him behind Brady because, like you said, Brady played pretty much that entire 25-year period.
Right.
Mahomes has just got a small chunk. And then, of course, Manning played a big chunk of that. And Manning was, he was the arch nemesis to Brady there for a lot of that. So I'll give him that. And I think Brees and Rodgers, that's probably the most fitting top 5 for sure.
Right. Well, let's move on to running backs, man. This one was awesome, by the way, because when you see what happened here, it kind of surprised me that they allowed this to go down, and it made me very, very happy. But the number 1 running back is Priest Holmes.
Wow.
I thought that was excellent. I thought this was
That is
awesome.
wild.
So normally, Priest Holmes, like as ridiculously dominant as he was in a handful of seasons,
Let me try to guess the other ones here before you
We
tell
will.
me. But
and he did have 1 Super Bowl ring with I think the 2000 Baltimore Ravens. So he had 1 ring, and his stats were ridiculous. So this is warranted, by the way, if you really go look into it and you read what they have to say about it. And I'm glad, because a lot of times when you're talking about these top tier running backs, even in the last 20, 25 years, Priest Holmes doesn't come up outside of Chiefs Kingdom.
no,
And he really should.
I was honestly very surprised to see that they would give him number 1. If they would have threw him in the top 5, I would have said yes, 100% deserved. 1 is a little wild, even coming from a Chiefs fan. There's a couple running backs in there that was really, really good throughout the last 25 years. So, I mean, if you take out his overachievement with the Vermeil years, I mean, he had times where this dude was he was a fantasy football nightmare. This guy was just.
Priest Holmes was a beast. Let me read you what they say about
Well,
Priest
there's a lot of
Holmes.
Chiefs fans,
and
Steve,
then-
before you read this, a lot of Chiefs fans would take Jamal Charles over him.
Absolutely. I think that's a definite thing. I was talking about this earlier with another guy, and I was like, man, I'm surprised it wasn't Jamal Charles instead of Priest Holmes. I understand why it's not, and I get that, but I feel like a lot of people would question that. But let's talk about that for a second. So Priest Holmes, obviously he played for the Ravens from 97 to 2000. He won the Super Bowl there, and then he went to the Chiefs from 2001 to 2007. He had 9,256 all-purpose yards, 85 all-purpose touchdowns, a 1-time Super Bowl champion, 1-time Offensive Player of the Year, and a 3-time All-Pro. What they say here, Mike, is yes, Holmes is our RB1 over anyone else. Think back to the turn of the century when Holmes emerged from the Baltimore bench to drive the powerful offense of the Dick Vermeil Chiefs, using a dynamic combination of rushing and receiving skills. Other running backs might have had longer peaks, but none of them can match the 3-year period that Holmes had from 2001 to 2003. In the advanced DYAR metrics for total value, these seasons rank 15th, 2nd, 3rd among all running back seasons since 1978. So that's why they put Priest Holmes at the
There's
top.
no doubt Mahomes had a nice little 3-year stretch there.
Priest
But
Holmes?
this is, I said Holmes.
I thought you said Mahomes.
No, Holmes had a nice little 3-year stretch there. But the thing is he won his Super Bowl before the 2000 turn. correct? Or did he win it in 2000 on the nose?
2000 on the nose.
Okay, so they give him the Super Bowl amongst that 25-year spin. Dude, I can name some running backs here, and I find it pretty hard to believe that they put him above him for that 3-year stretch. But I will say that 3-year stretch was pretty monumental. That was an insane stat padding 3-year stretch. But can you really give somebody the number 1 running back overall for having 3 good years out of 25?
All right, well, go on. Tell me who you have at number 2.
I mean, honestly, I feel like I see somebody in the chat say Barry Sanders, but I think Barry Sanders was a majority of a 90s running back, wasn't he?
Yeah, I don't think he really hit after 2000.
I would say number 1, in my opinion, I was kind of thinking they'd go LaDainian Tomlinson.
Interesting. Yeah, that's somebody that would come to mind, right? But actually, he's not in the top 3.
That's wild. Okay, Eddie George.
All right, I'm just going to have to go ahead and tell you.
Dude, if LaDainian Tomlinson don't make that list, who in the hell does?
Hey, y'all guess in the chat. I want to see if anybody can get these right. But yeah, these other 2, AP's a great guess. That's another one that I was absolutely
I was thinking AP a little bit, but I thought maybe he was not on there. So wait, maybe Terrell Davis. He won some Super Bowls, and Terrell Davis was a beast. So maybe Terrell Davis.
Right. Well, let's just go ahead and get into it. Let's get into it. If y'all want to guess, go ahead and guess. But number 2 is Christian McCaffrey. The Panthers from 2017 to 22, 49ers 22 to present. Resume since 2000, almost 11,000 all-purpose yards, which is more than Priest Holmes. 81 all-purpose touchdowns, 4 less than Priest Holmes. 1 Offensive Player of the Year and 4 times All-Pro. So he's number 2. What do you think about that? Was you expecting Christian McCaffrey to hit the number 2 spot in all?
No, I think that invalidates that list.
How do you figure?
I like Christian McCaffrey, but if you tell me you were building a team off any player from the year 2000 to 2025, I'm taking LaDainian Thompson any day over Christian McCaffrey.
As the best receiving back of the past 25 years, McCaffrey needs to be included on this roster. He averages 47 receiving yards per game, which is more than anyone else with at least 500 carries during that
I would have
span.
taken Adrian Peterson in his prime over Christian McCaffrey.
But he's not only a receiving back. What makes McCaffrey special is that he has maintained a 4.7 yards per carry over his career, the 14th best among running backs this quarter century.
Yeah, when he plays.
So that's their explanation there.
I don't like that one. I like the Priest Holmes getting number 1, but they dropped the ball. Who's number 2? Or wait, you said he was number 2. So number 3. I can't even think of another running back if it's not going to be like an 80s.
It's pretty obvious, honestly.
Is it the kid from the kid that played under Cower in them in Pittsburgh?
No, I think you guys are. You have to remember it's the entire 25 years, so you don't have to just think back to the beginning of the quarter turn of the century.
Obviously, it's not 25 years. It's just a 2-year stretch within a 25-year period.
Could be anyone, right? But that's the thing. Like, just think more modern.
So they could say Derrick Henry because he had a 2-year stretch.
Henry.
That's crazy.
Derrick Henry.
Come on.
It's not a 2-year stretch from 2016 to 2023, which is 9 seasons. Not 9 seasons. I can't even do math.
I would
7
say Derrick
seasons.
Henry over Christian McCaffrey, but I think LaDainian Thompson has to make that list.
So Derrick Henry's numbers swamp the other 2. He's got over 13,000 all-purpose yards, 111 all-purpose touchdowns, a 1-time Offensive Player of the Year, and a 4-time All-Pro. It says King Henry gives this team a power rusher in the ground game, but style aside, Henry's production really earns him a spot on this list. His 4.9 yards per carry puts him well ahead of Adrian Peterson and LaDainian Tomlinson, whom we also considered in this spot. His 2.4 yards after contact per carry make him number 1 among all running backs with at least 500 rushes since the year 2000. And he has a very low 0.6% fumble rate. So
I'm sorry. I think they dropped the ball. You're putting LaDainian Thompson on that list all day.
LaDainian Tomlinson is their practice squad player.
Honestly, I take him over Christian McCaffrey.
Would you take him over Henry, though? I think Henry's justified to be on that list. Absolutely.
Well, it depends on what you want, because if you're an Andy Reid offense, LaDainian Thompson would be a monster. If you're a team that's going to pound the ball 35 times a game like he had in Tennessee for his entire career, then you're going to get what you're going to get. Of course you're going to pad your stats. That's all they had.
Right. So if you don't want to go by stats, then I think that's how they get the argument that Christian McCaffrey should be on the team because of his receiving abilities.
He's not the
so
only
I don't-
running back that had receiving abilities.
No, but he was the best, is what they're saying.
Well,
So-
I'm not buying it. I don't like that running back list. I don't like the running back list. As much as I like the quarterback list, I thought they hit the top 5. I don't think that list is correct. Would you put Christian McCaffrey in the top 5 for the past 25 years? You're going to put him number 2?
Makes no sense at all. Yeah, dude, honestly, I would consider it. I'm not going to lie. The only reason I wouldn't is because of his durability. If you take the injury proneness and set it aside, I think that Christian McCaffrey is potentially one of the top 3. Like in God-given ability and production, I think you could argue it.
Dude,
think you could.
I guess I'm from a different era, and I want a different thing out of my running back. I think LaDainian Thompson was one of the most talented to ever play. I think that he's got to be on that list. And honestly, I mean, like I said, I would almost take an Eddie George, like a kind of guy like that.
I would be okay with swapping Christian McCaffrey and LaDainian Tomlinson and making McCaffrey the practice squad guy and Tomlinson a start, like in the top 3.
Okay, I would come more settling on that one.
And the reason why I say that is just off of durability alone.
But I think it's
Like
a little
this-
wild that AP's not on that list.
Yeah, well, I think AP kind of peaked quick and then fell off the planet because he got in a lot of trouble and all that, if you remember.
Like if it were me, I'm glad Priest Holmes got number 1. It's cool that somebody give him some recognition. I probably put him at number 3. I probably put LaDainian at number 1. I probably put AP at 2. That's how I would do it. And then I'd put Derrick Henry right there. Derrick Henry probably more deserving.
Yeah, Derrick Henry absolutely deserves it.
Maybe
I don't
Derrick
think you can
Henry
go
over
wrong there.
AP then.
All right, so let's move on. Fullback did not have a chief. They only took one fullback. They took Kyle Juszczyk, which I thought was pretty crazy. But they kind of took him easily. They said his 9 Pro Bowl selections are 4 more than the Ravens' Patrick Ricard and 5 more than former Charger Lorenzo Neal. He's a unique playmaker as a fullback in the passing game with the ability to move around and run all kinds of different routes. So they took Kyle Juszczyk. Do you have any objections to Juszczyk being that guy at fullback?
Probably not. They didn't even consider, I guess, like a Mike Allstott or nobody, did they?
No, which is pretty wild, honestly. Like, I feel like there's a lot of fullbacks that you could have maybe argued in that position, but I think Kyle Juszczyk's fair.
I mean, if you had to give me Kyle Juszczyk, I'm not going to argue it. Like the kid's
I mean,
good.
honestly, if you just had to, find a fullback that has better resume than him since 2000, I don't know if you could. He's got about 3,000 all-purpose yards, 24 all-purpose touchdowns, and a 2-time All-Pro, and 9 Pro Bowl selections. So, I mean, I don't know if you could find anybody with the same resume. But let's move on. We're not going to spend too much time on fullback. Let's go to wide receiver.
Sam said Allstott was a fullback.
Yeah, I think Allstott could have definitely went in that spot, right? That'd be the one I would argue. If it was,
we're talking about fullbacks.
Yeah,
so I think he had a shot there. But look, I'm not going to argue Kyle Juszczyk. The kid's good. He's good.
Yeah, he is good. Allstott, it's funny because he was a fullback, but I mean, did he not just run the ball like a halfback most of the time?
He
I
kind
feel
of
like they just handed him the ball all the time.
Yeah, he kind of like done a little bit like what Peyton Hillis did. Mm-hmm. Peyton Hillis was like that big dude that he had 1 or 2 big years and then kind of fell off. But
let's move on to receivers. The Chiefs didn't have a receiver on the list, so I'll go ahead.
Surprise.
If you want to take a guess, I think these top 3. They took 6. Sorry, they took 6 and put 2 on the practice squad. 6 and 2 on the practice squad. I think the top 3 is easy. I think it's easy. And you go ahead and guess. But
I would say top 3. I think you give.
Just
I
real
think
obvious. the top 3, I
Megatron
think.
has got to go on that list.
He's
right?
number 2. Yes. Yeah, he's number 2.
Okay. Megatron. Randy Moss is on that list.
Randy Moss is number 1. Number 3 is pretty obvious too if you just think about it.
I think
Like
I would give it to a little bit of a. I think I've got 2 guys I could put right there. I think Larry Fitzgerald could be on there because he had a lot of good production, and I like Marvin Harrison actually. I think Marvin Harrison could have got on that list.
Okay, one of the guys you said is not even on this list, I don't think, and the other
Marvin
one
Harrison.
is. But this third spot is Julio Jones. If you go back to Julio Jones in the Falcons days,
Julio was good, but
peak Julio was right up there with the other 2.
But look, you're going to take 3 guys that are just big-bodied monsters. Like you don't have anybody to work that slot, baby.
Mike, that's just the top 3. They took 6. Let's go on. Let's move forward. So yeah, Randy Moss, Calvin Johnson, then Julio Jones. Then they went Terrell Owens at number 4.
That's wild.
Yes and no. He put up a lot of stats. He's right there in the ballpark.
Everybody's saying Jerry Rice. It can't be Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice played the 90s and the 80s. This is from 2020 to 2025. Mm-hmm. So, we're not – yeah.
Yeah, he's too old. He didn't make the cut.
He may have been playing for the Raiders. Did he play all the way into the 2000s with the Raiders maybe?
I don't know. He might have hit the back end of it. I doubt it.
Right, but his production was the 80s, 90s.
Well, just to put this into perspective, you said Terrell Owens was pretty crazy, right? Randy Moss had 128 touchdowns. Megatron
T.O.'s not that crazy.
Calvin Johnson had 83 touchdowns. Julio 66. Terrell Owens had 123 receiving touchdowns. So he's right there.
T.O. was good. T.O. was pretty good.
The other guy, Marvin Harrison, did make the list. He's the number 5 receiver.
Oh, Marvin got on, but so Larry Fitzgerald didn't make it.
No.
That's kind of wild because Larry Fitzgerald was a beast.
Yeah, well, I think Larry Fitzgerald's just kind of like that constant. He had like the longevity, right?
Give me about the era this guy played in. Was he more current? Was he more back towards 2000?
One?
Was it Derek Mason?
Spot?
Yeah.
The last spot here? No, it's current. He's a current guy.
Oh, wow. I was getting ready to say Ocho Cinco possibly too. Current.
This one goes more off of ability and less off of production because I don't think he's played long enough to have nearly the production as the other guys. But what's crazy is he's on pace to smoke most of them.
A.J. Brown?
No.
But it's that current.
Yes.
You mean like he's on a roster today?
He was just drafted in 2020.
What?
Yeah.
2020? Who?
Justin Jefferson.
I don't know about that one.
Well, Justin Jefferson, who only has played for 5 years so far, and he was hurt a lot of one of them, he has pretty close to the stats of a Marvin Harrison, which is wild.
Okay, but listen, but you want to say he's only played for 5 years, and he
Marvin
has
Harrison
no
played
Super
for
Bowl
8.
rings under his belt, but yet we said it was okay for Mahomes to only have played 8, and he's got 3.
Well, I mean, I don't think receivers really get the stigma with the Super Bowl rings as much, right?
I understand that,
I mean,
but Mahomes
Randy
played
Moss,
for 8, and he's only played 5.
Did Randy
and
Moss?
Mahomes is on
Randy
pace
Moss didn't even win a Super Bowl. Calvin Johnson didn't win a Super Bowl. Julio Jones didn't win.
Did Moss not get one with New England, or is that the year they got beat?
Spags beat his ass. They went undefeated and lost in the Super Bowl.
Okay, but I'm just saying, like 5 years, people are going to say, "Oh, well, blah blah blah." But Mahomes is like he cracks all these records at 8, though.
Mahomes is going to be insane, by the way. If you can get another 10 plus healthy years out of Patrick Mahomes, we're going to see a lot of records broke. It's crazy. But actually, the only Super Bowl winning receiver on this team is, let me double check on, okay, there might have been one.
Do you think they considered Tyreek Hill?
Marvin Harrison. No, they didn't, because they have 2 players on the practice squad. And one is Antonio Brown, and the other is Andre Johnson.
Dude, Andre Johnson was one I was going to mention earlier. And
Antonio Brown, like peak
Antonio
Brown before before the hit heard around the world.
Dude,
I think
Tyreek Hill though, I mean he was a different like kind of beast. Yeah. Okay,
yeah, for sure.
They didn't do linemen then, I guess, did they?
Nope. And we're going to move on to tight ends here in a second. Appreciate you guys being here, by the way. Love that you guys are actually participating in the chat and talking about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Y'all make sure to throw out what you think because it's fun to go back and forth about this kind of stuff. It's all opinion. But yeah, do us a favor, hit the like button if you haven't, share it out with a friend, do whatever you want to do to help out. We'd appreciate you. Mike, let's move on to tight ends. And you know our boy Kelsey was on the list, but he was number 2.
Oh, well, obviously they're putting Gronk at number 1.
And you know what's even crazier? Tony G made the list at number 3.
That's
so
fair.
why on earth? Is it?
I mean, the 2 Chiefs tight ends got to be in the top 3. I mean, they're going to give it to Gronk, and they're going to use the same thing that
but what
we
kind of New
discredited.
England homer put Gronk at number 1?
I'm just trying to say he's won all the Super Bowls, and then you're going to go to the wide receiver and say, well, Justin Jefferson hasn't won Super Bowls, but they don't have that stigma. So why does tight ends get it?
I don't know. I didn't make the list.
That's what I'm saying. That's why these lists are a little bit inconsistent. But you knew they were going to give it to Gronk. They think Gronk's got a better overall game.
Here, let's read what they had to say. Let's go by what they had to say.
They think he's a more complete tight end.
The Patriots and the Buccaneers obviously played for both. He had about 8, 9 seasons put in. Resume, 9,000 yards, 92 receiving touchdowns, 4-time Super Bowl champion, 4-time All-Pro. Gronk's 2011 season is the all-time greatest for a tight end in both standard stats, 18 touchdowns, and advanced stats, 461 DYAR. He ranked first in DYAR among tight ends 3 times and second another 3 times. Oh, and he was also a devastating blocker. He could basically be used as another offensive lineman, blah, 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 all that. That's what they had to say about Gronk. So let's go to Kelsey and compare. Kelsey with over 12,000 receiving yards, 77 touchdowns, and a 3-time Super Bowl champion, 7-time All-Pro. So if you go by stats, Gronk has 1 more Super Bowl, 1 more All-Pro, and about 15 more touchdowns than Travis Kelsey, which I think potentially he could catch that. If Travis Kelsey were to play another 2 years, that could come into question. So I don't know, man. I think overall, the way they've done this list, I don't think you put Gronk at number 1. If you're going to put Christian McCaffrey at the number 2 running back,
right,
because of his ability, I think you have to put Travis
Kelsey. It sounds
Kelce
like to me that they had some ideas of guys they wanted to put in here, and then they changed the goalposts to make them fit. That's what it feels like, which is why I'm very much surprised that they put Priest Holmes at number 1. Like, did Priest Holmes'
I
dad
think that's
work
the
for
whole
ESPN
point of the
this
thing.
week
I don't think there's any standard. They didn't have a set amount of rules or standards to go by. They were just making what they thought was the best.
How many tight ends did they take?
3.
3? They didn't take any practice squad? Because I can guess
They took
practice
one
squad.
practice squad, and it's damn well who you think it is.
It better be Antonio Gates.
It is.
Okay.
So, yeah. I mean, to me, I think, sure, you can argue Rob Gronkowski, but, I mean, honestly, overall, I'm probably taking Tony G and Kelsey over Gronk. I'd probably put Gronk at 3, to be honest about it.
I think those two were a little bit more dynamic than Gronk. I think Gronk just got a lot of his because he was very much they forced the ball to him. Now, look, you can say that we do the same thing with Kelsey, especially
That's
Mahomes.
true, but they haven't done it to the extent. They haven't done it to the extent that went with Brady and
Kelsey's
and
always
Gronk.
going to get the stigma that he's not as good of a blocker. I'm surprised they didn't put Kittle on the list.
Yeah, no. Let's hear what they had to say about Travis Kelsey. It said he's simply the best pure receiving tight end in this quarter century. If we count the postseason, Kelsey recorded more receiving yards than any other tight end in this span. And on a per-game basis, the only player who even comes close to Kelsey is 2024 rookie Brock Bowers, who could be on the mid-century team if he keeps it up. Kelsey ranked number 1 among tight ends in DYAR 3 times. So basically, it's kind of pick your poison here. I think whoever made this list preferred Rob Gronkowski, right?
Yeah.
But if you go to Tony G's over 13,000 receiving yards, 96 touchdowns, which is 4 more than Gronk. 9-time All-Pro, which is 5 more All-Pros than Gronk. He did not get the ring though, of course. So
look at how dominant. Like, if you just took the Chiefs' all-time best players of the all-quarter century team, look how dominant that team would be with Mahomes, Priest Holmes, Kelsey, Tony G. Dude, who's beating that team?
right.
Like, I guess
dude,
the
I don't
closest
know.
one to it would be if you put Moss with Brady and
With New
Gronk,
England.
you'd have to do it that way. But I call me old school, but when I think of Randy Moss, I think of the Vikings. I'm sorry. I always going to think of the Vikings, man.
Right, but that's
Even
the
though-
same difference as Priest Holmes being considered the chief, even though he won a Super Bowl with the Ravens,
Right.
and also Tony G. Even though
Well, I mean, he was a
gone.
backup with the Ravens, so
Right.
I don't really consider. Did he go back to the Ravens though late in his career? Once he left KC, he went back to the Ravens. I thought for a year or two.
Not that I know. I don't know. Maybe.
Man, I'm almost
Yeah.
positive.
What's
he
up, Brenda?
did.
Good to see you. Better late than never. That's all that matters. If you're just rolling in, we appreciate you guys being here. Just talking about ESPN's quarter century all quarter century team. Sorry. That's what they've done here. We've already been through most of the offense here. They actually did do left tackles. So let's talk about that for a split second. They did guards too. They did offensive line. So let's talk about that. I don't think the Chiefs hit
Did
any
they not put
offensive
Willie
line.
Rofe on that left tackle list?
Ooh.
He may have been majority of
No.
the '90s though.
No. So the Chiefs had nobody on the offensive line. We'll just go over that real quick. Left tackles, number 1 was Joe Thomas at the Browns.
Orlando Pace.
Number 2, Trent Williams. And then the practice squad is Walter Jones and Jordan Mailata.
Okay.
So
those guys must have been a little bit older. I must be thinking about the 90s. I think I'm putting my guys in the 90s.
Jordan Mailata. Is that how he says his name? All right. Left guards, Alan Faneca or Faneca. How does he say his name? Faneca. Okay, and then Steve Hutchinson. So that's the only two there. No.
Steve
That's
Hutchinson.
only 2. And then Jason Kelsey is the center.
Of course.
Right guard, Zach Martin. Marshall Yanda is the other right guard. And then Lane Johnson as a right tackle.
I'm a little surprised they didn't put Quentin Nelson on the list as a guard.
Nope, they sure didn't. Practice squad guard would be Jari Evans. Did they do any practice squad? Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay, and then also right tackles Lane Johnson, Willie Anderson. And that's what they got there. So, yeah. That's not bad though. I mean, if you talking about if you took the 5 best offensive linemen and you told me it was going to be let's see, Joe Thomas, Faneca, Jason Kelsey, Zach Martin, and Lane Johnson, I think you're okay with that, right?
I mean, yeah, you're fine with it. But, I mean, they could have went with somebody totally different, and I would have been fine with it, too. I don't think it was that big of a deal.
Yeah, it's hard to argue there, like, with the offensive lineman. Like, I think, like, it's kind of a pick your poison thing is there as well. But I think all those guys are good. I think that's fine. Let's
Did everybody always... This is one thing I can't remember. Before the last few years of his career, did everybody always fawn over Jason Kelsey as the best center in the league, like his entire career, or was that just something really late in his career?
It was up when they won the Super Bowl when it started.
I don't remember like Kelsey coming into the league his first 2 or 3 years and everybody like speaking of him so highly, like we've been able to do with Creed. Like Creed makes every big list and he's like taking it over, but everybody's like Kelsey, Kelsey, Kelsey. And I get it.
I think
late in his career,
didn't start until they won the Super Bowl there. That's pretty much when that started.
Okay, because
Right.
I don't remember it being like a long-term thing.
Let's keep it moving. Keep it moving. We're going to go edge rushers here. Jared Allen was the number 2 edge rusher on this
number
team,
2
baby.
as well, but
You like that?
I like Jared
Mike,
Allen.
I know you like that.
That's
Jared
pumped
Allen,
for
baby.
Jared Allen.
Well, let's talk about the edge rushers real quick, and we'll keep moving. Number 1 edge rusher was DeMarcus Ware. Number 2, Jared Allen. Number 3, Myles Garrett. And number 4, Julius Peppers, with the practice squad being TJ Watt and Michael Strahan. What do you think about JJ Watt not making this list?
JJ Watt's wild that he didn't get it over
TJ Watt's rubbing that one in, right?
But maybe
He's
TJ,
like,
does TJ... I always considered TJ more of like a linebacker that comes down on the line, but I guess they do
he's
consider
an edge
him-
rusher.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's wild to look at edge rushers like that because I wouldn't have ever, like, I guess DeMarcus Lawrence is fine, but I wouldn't have really thought
It's
about
DeMarcus
him.
Ware.
Oh, DeMarcus Ware, I'm sorry.
yeah.
Julius Peppers, that's a name that kind of you forget about, but he was good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's not really much to argue about that either. I mean, you could probably think of a few more that could be on, like J.J. Watt has a argument to be on that list, right? And I think you could probably come up with a few more. Do you like Myles Garrett being on there? Just 2017 to present, what he's been able to do? I think you almost have to if you look at his numbers.
I mean, he's good. He's solid. I don't think I would turn it down if that was the thing. I'm trying to think back to like the 2000, 2010. You can't tell me that. Was Jared Allen really the most dominant edge rusher from like 2008 to like 2016 or something?
Well,
I mean, I know he was really good. He got paid. He went to Chicago. He went to Minnesota. So he'd been to a few places.
Jared Allen, yeah, he played for the Chiefs, the Vikings, the Bears, the Panthers. Resume, 136 sacks, 32 forced fumbles, 4-time All-Pro. In comparison to the number 1, DeMarcus Ware, he had 2.5 less sacks. He had 3 less forced fumbles and 3 less All-Pros. And also DeMarcus Ware won a Super Bowl ring. Jared Allen did not. It says Allen's peak was incredibly strong, hitting 22 sacks, just shy of the single-season record in 2011. But he was not a one-hit wonder. Allen hit double-digit sacks 8 times and tallied the 4th most sacks in our time span. He also ranks 4th amongst edge players, if we include J.J. Watt. in total plus EPA since 2001, a measure where defenders who are on the field for positive defensive plays are credited with the resulting EPA. So, I mean, I think it's fair. I think it's pretty awesome that Jared Allen made the list, to be quite honest about it.
How many sacks did he have in his career?
132, I think.
Huh.
What are you so confused about?
Well, I thought maybe, how many big years did he have in KC? Like, how many years was he really relevant? I was trying to
Like
remember
3,
like
4?
what years he was. Yeah, but I was trying to remember what years. Well, because off that thing about having 2
I
or
think
3
he
years.
played for the Chiefs from like 04 to 07.
Well, I'm just saying, like, they're calling out like, oh, well, he had a season for the Chiefs where he had 22 sacks. That's unheard of. That's crazy. Justin Houston had 22 sacks back in 2014.
Right, but I mean, overall body of work, I don't think Justin Houston scratched what
I
these
think
guys did.
Justin Houston had, I think, 115 sacks. So I mean,
Right.
yeah, he's a little lower altogether. But I'm just saying they're definitely picking and choosing like certain years and being like, those years have not been touched. Maybe they count Justin Houston as a linebacker.
Potentially. I don't know. We'll see. Let's move on. Defensive tackles, baby. You know our man made the list, right? Stone
Chris
Cold,
Jones, baby. Where's he at?
The number 3 defensive tackle, which I thought this was crazy. I think he could have been number 2, but we're not going to talk about it. We'll settle for 3. We'll settle for 3. But let's take a look at the rest of the list here, Mike.
Warren Sapp?
Number
he more in
1's
the
Aaron
90s?
Donald, absolutely,
Okay.
and number 2 was Calais Campbell.
Okay,
And you
yeah,
got
so
Chris
Sapp
Jones
must be
at
more
3.
90s.
For sure. And then practice squad was Kevin Williams and Cameron Hayward. What they say about Chris Jones here at the number 3 spot. 80 and a half sacks, 13 forced fumbles, 3-time Super Bowl champ, 6-time All-Pro. There were a number of great interior defensive linemen who we considered for this team, and some of them had more first All-Pros than Jones, 3. Kevin Williams had 5 and Cam Hayward 4, and Warren Sapp also had 3, not including his career before the year 2000. In the end, we ask ourselves this: who would we choose if we needed to win one big game? So we went with the player who anchored a defense for 3 championship teams. If Donald didn't exist, Jones would have ranked first in pass rush win rate at defensive tackle for 5 consecutive seasons. In 2 of those seasons, he also ranked first in double team rate at defensive tackle, which is absolutely crazy. So he ranked first at double team rate at defensive tackle and still managed to have the best pass rush win rate in those years, which is wild. So yeah, Chris Jones a monster, bro.
Yeah, he was awesome. I see somebody in the chat. Who said Peter? Peter said Mike admitted Allen was good. I love Jared Allen.
Yeah, Mike was a huge Jared Allen
I'm a
fan.
huge Jared Allen fan. I just thought that was kind of wild that they could put him at number 2. I'm happy for him. But
I don't think
get
it's
it.
wild at all.
I mean, I guess it's not. But when you think about it, I mean, it's just strange. Like, because you wouldn't think.
Well, I
of
think
looking
it's kind of
back
like
at-
the Priest Holmes one, though, right? Like, if someone
Yeah.
told you straight off, and especially if you're not a Chiefs fan, if you're like, hey, best 3 running backs in the last 25 years, I doubt most people would even put him in the top 3. Now, Chiefs fans,
Right. I don't think
they
most
might
people would
do
know him. That's why I was kind of.
And you made a
like,
good point
whoa.
earlier. A lot of Chiefs fans would probably said Jamal Charles. So, I think Jared Allen kind of falls into that, right?
Yeah.
Like-
Thomas says, how do they leave out John Randall? John Randall was in the 90s, guys.
Yeah.
He played all of his stats in the 90s pretty much. Now, I do think after 2000, he played in Seattle a few years. He probably had like,
It's
he
very
probably
easy
still had
to-
a couple 30 sacks or so in the 2000s.
Isn't it like super easy to get the guys from the mid to late 90s confused with the early 2000s? I feel like it's like,
yeah. Well, because, it's weird that 2000, like the cutoff for this, and you just kind of forget when they played.
it's weird that the year 2000 was 25 years ago. How about that?
Dude,
We're
that
old.
just shows how old we've gotten.
Yeah, I'm with Yuck Food Tube. Fantasy owners might throw in Priest Holmes in that conversation.
Yeah.
But see, we also have someone in the chat. Chris says Charles over Priest. So I mean, I think that's definitely an argument that
I feel like a lot of Chiefs fans would probably
Let's make a
say
poll.
that.
We're doing a poll. If you could pick one running back out of the 2, I'm just gonna say who was the best
Yeah.
Chiefs running back.
Who would you rather? Who would you rather bone? Remember that game we used to
Yeah,
play
let's
back in
not
the
do
day?
that
What,
one.
what were we doing? Why was that a game that you played back in like grade school?
Man, it went on for a long time too.
What do grade schoolers know about boning? Like, why were we playing that game? Why were we doing that?
I'm just horned up, brother. You were horned up. Didn't know what to do with it. I got the poll up. You guys vote on that one. I'm very interested to see what all you guys as Chiefs fans think. Jamal Charles or Priest Holmes. I want to know. So make sure you vote on that, and we'll keep it moving. But yeah, Chris Jones being the number 3 guy there. I like him at 2. But I can see why they put Calais Campbell above him, just probably off of just more longevity, right? Like maybe when Chris Jones is all said and done, he might slide up into that 2 spot. Aaron Donald's going to be hard to touch in those regards, I think, just because
Aaron Donald kind of shifted the position.
Ridiculously explosive he was, yeah, for sure. All right, well, let's move it along. We'll go to corner. Darrelle Revis. Revis Island was the number 1 cornerback, baby, and he played for the Chiefs for, 2017?
He did all of his work with the Jets.
But he's still a Chief, nonetheless.
Did he play for the Patriots, too? I could have swore I remember him playing for the Patriots.
Darrelle Revis did. He played for the Jets, the Buccaneers, the Patriots, and then the Chiefs. So he finished his career as a Chief. 29 interceptions, a 1-time Super Bowl champion, a 4-time All-Pro. Even the best receivers in the NFL disappeared on Revis Island. In the star cornerback's best season in 2009, the Jets allowed an average of 29 receiving yards per game to opposing wide receiver ones. Revis's 31 passes defended that year are still an NFL record, 4 more than any other quarterback ever has in a single season. So Revis went off. He was a monster.
Revis Island, he was a monster back in his heyday, man. He was like the shutdown guy, right? It was like him and Champ Bailey.
Absolutely. Well, who else do you think could have made that list? I'm going to tell you how many there are.
Champ Bailey would be a nice one unless he played the majority of the 90s.
Champ Bailey was number 2, baby. Number 2.
Yeah, I would think so.
Number 3. Number 3 will throw you for a little bit of a loop. You wouldn't be.
Who did he play for?
The Buccaneers.
Oh wow, so he's current.
No.
Is it Rondé Barber?
Rondé Barber.
Let's go.
And then they also had Richard Sherman. Don't like that because he's a slap nut. And Patrick Peterson.
Sherman, though, you know.
Yeah.
That's a decent one.
I'll allow it. And then they had the practice squad, Jalen Ramsey. So Jalen Ramsey got a mention there, which is, I can understand.
You hear it?
I hear that train rolling in, baby. Let's go, Brenda.
Brenda, let's go.
Yeah.
Brenda,
get it going,
five,
baby.
get the blah, 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 come on.
Hey, Brenda, we appreciate you. You're awesome. I'm sure the
Appreciate
people
you.
that got those memberships appreciate you, too. Throw some legendaries in the chat for Brenda.
Some legendaries. Maybe a catch up her way, too, you know?
Brenda rolled in late tonight, and she was the first one to donate. She sent out, she was sharing the love. The all chiefed up memberships.
That was a, Brenda, I hope that wasn't like an apology thing to make sure we still love you.
She was arriving in style.
We love
baby.
you. You didn't have to, you know, just because you come in a little late. We ain't going to shame you or nothing.
Appreciate that. But yeah, let's go on. Rondé Barber, Richard Sherman, Patrick Peterson, and then Jalen Ramsey on the practice squad. I think it's fair. I think it's a fair list. I wouldn't argue with
It's
it.
fine. It's fine.
What about, was
How come they
Woodson?
didn't-
What about Woodson?
Charles Woodson, I think he may have been more 90s, though.
Okay.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Because he
let's-
even won Woodson won a little Heisman with the Wolverines there.
I don't know if that counts.
Dion would have been in the 90s too. Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, I can't really argue with that list. Champ Bailey and Ty Law was another one that people freaked out about,
He didn't make the list.
but he didn't make the list probably. But yeah, okay, I like
Right.
that list.
Well, let's go ahead and move on. There are no more Chiefs players. We've hit all 8 of them. So we'll kind of scroll through this. I'll let you guess at a couple of these. We're going to go with linebackers. They picked 5. Are you going to try
Ray
to make
Lewis.
a guess at what 5? Ray Lewis, number 1.
Luke Kuechly.
Luke Kuechly, number 5.
Whoa. Oh,
Yeah. That one's arguable. The other 3 are pretty obvious too. Well, actually, there's one. I could have done give or take. I don't care.
is there
if
a
it's there or
current
not.
one on there?
The most current one is probably there's one playing with the Commanders right now, and there's one still playing with the
Bobby
Buccaneers.
Wagner.
Bobby Wagner is number 2. Number 3.
I thought they were going to pick the kid from Dallas. And I was going to be like, really? You're going to throw him on there? A little Michael Parsons action.
Oh no.
You said who? Like there was another linebacker on
That's
Dallas.
why I was
that
confused.
worth the
I don't know.
crap.
I always think of him as an edge rusher, even though he's a linebacker.
Well, that's kind of what I was doing with Justin Houston earlier.
Yeah. Number 3 was Brian Urlacher.
That's a great one. How did I forget about Urlacher?
And number 4 was Levante David from the Buccaneers. And then Luke
That's a
Kuechly at
decent
5.
one.
Practice squad player was Derek Brooks. So that's what
Derek
rounds
Brooks
out
good,
the
too.
linebackers. So I mean, that's a good linebacker core. I wouldn't argue with that at all.
A couple
Kuechly
Buccaneers
could've-
on that list, huh?
I feel like Kuechly could have potentially been higher. I think if
Yeah.
Kuechly maybe played longer and didn't only play 7 years in the NFL, he could have. Yeah,
Kuechly was a special kid out of BC, man. He was somebody that I wanted the Chiefs to pick up. I remember
was a
that draft
monster.
come out that year. I was a big Kuechly guy, but I don't think the Chiefs had a chance to get him.
And let's see. Actually, J.J. Watt did make this list. They got a little off script. So this is weird. They added 2 more guys to the defensive line. One as a versatile defensive lineman, J.J. Watt.
Okay.
And then I'm guessing they're saying he can kick inside and out. And then nose tackle, they put a nose tackle, Vince Wilfork.
Vince Wilfork was a monster.
Yeah, absolute monster. So, yeah, they added those 2 in. And then the last position that we have to talk about is safeties.
Safety.
So, what do you think safeties-wise? What do you got at number 1?
Ed Reed.
Ed Reed. That's Justin Reed's brother?
Yeah, it's his dad.
That's Dad?
Yeah, it's his dad.
No, it's not. That's
Yeah.
impossible.
No, it's his
His
dad.
dad
He
was
had
not-
him when he was like 7.
I'm done with you.
He's not. Look, they're not related. I don't think.
Hold on. I
But,
got to look it up.
Who would be the other? Okay, is Tiki Barber on that list as a safety? Did Tiki play safety or did Tiki play corner?
Eric Reed's Justin Reed's brother.
Yeah.
Ed Reed's their cousin. Okay.
Reed.
Troy.
Troy Polamalu.
He's not their cousin either. It's not even spelled the same. That's the best part. Troy
Troy
Polamalu.
Polamalu.
Yes,
That's
number
a good
2.
one.
Number 3,
Give me the team.
he was most known for playing for the Eagles.
Ooh.
He
Cooper
also played
DeJean.
for the Broncos.
No, I'm joking.
He also played for the Broncos. For 2 years.
Dawkins?
Brian Dawkins.
Brian Dawkins.
And number
I'm
4?
a professional ball
They
knower.
put Charles Woodson as a safety, by the way. Was he a safety?
No, he played corner. But he probably did play safety a little bit in the end of his career. But he
They
was
have a
corner
he's
coming
the
out
practice.
of.
He's the practice squad safety. Either way, do you know who the number 4 safety was? Any guesses?
I hope it's Greg Wesley.
It's not.
No. Who?
Earl Thomas.
Earl Thomas. Yeah, I can see that. But
Right.
yeah, him and Earl Thomas and Ed Reed kind of were, people fawned all over those guys. But Brian Dawkins was a good one.
And then we have the kicker.
Oh, we know who they're giving it to Tuck, right?
They did. They gave it to Whacker.
Yeah, you knew he
Whacker
was giving
part
it to
2,
Tucker.
bro.
Tucker was probably one of the most consistent kickers throughout his entire career, though. I mean, come on.
Yeah, true. Brenda, real quick, member for 23 months. Said, no apologies, Mike. Just love.
Just love.
Jay Kelsey in the house, been a member for 21 months, says from Kingdom North. And then I think we got one more somewhere. Hold on. Where are we at?
Kelsey.
Oh, we got freaking Peter Ortiz.
Let's go, baby. I hear the
With the
purge
25
coming.
bomb. Let's go, baby. He says, Mike, your room's looking good. Mike's
better.
got it together after the flood. He got it back together. Look at him.
dude. I said, if I got to remodel, I'm doing it right. I'm gonna do it up. I got my cow blanket going, baby. Look at that cow blanket. My girlfriend said, "What in the world? You picked that out?" Yes, I did. She didn't do it. I put that together, and I'm dang proud of that cow blanket and my cow throw pillows. Can you see the throw pillow?
I just have the Chiefs blanket. I don't have a cow blanket, but
I'm thinking about getting a cow rug. I
I
just want to go straight cow.
I want to put a
man.
bearskin rug right here.
Man, I love
That's
cows.
what I'm going to do. That's next on my list. Appreciate the 25, Peter. You're a freaking legend, by the way. Y'all put some legendaries in the chat.
Who's
for
Sam? That's a
Peter.
good one. He said, "What about Rodney
go.
Harrison?" Rodney Harrison
That
was
was
a
a good
cheap
one.
shot artist. I could not stand Rodney Harrison.
I think Lynch was more 90s, right? He didn't go up after 2000.
Oh, John Lynch. Yeah, he would have been 90s. But he did play with
Yeah.
the Bucks probably in the early 2000s.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, let's move
But
it
see,
along.
Warren Sapp did too. So that's why I was saying Sapp. But that's pretty much probably the ends of their careers. So
We'll move it along here. We got more to talk about, man. We got a little time
Yeah,
and
buddy.
more to talk about.
Darren Sharper's
Punters,
a good one.
the punters, Shane Leckler. And
Oh, yeah.
they got a return specialist. You can imagine who that is, Devin Hester. And then special teamers, they just took one special teamer, Matthew Slater, and long snapper Morgan Cox. Now let's move on to the coaching staff. I think you can guess who the coach is.
They
Head
put
coach.
Belichick over Reed, but I'm telling you,
They
Reed
did.
should have been there.
I would take Reed.
Big or Reed?
I'll read their words for you. We wrestled back and forth here a lot, considering both Belichick and Andy Reid. Reid has the advantage of sustained success with multiple quarterbacks and multiple franchises, but we went with Belichick because of his superior success in the postseason, 9 Super Bowl appearances and 6 Super Bowl championships. So yeah, I mean that's still quite a bit more than Andy Reid at this point. Now I think Andy Reid could easily get there before his career, Mahomes' career, is over. So that could definitely be more of an argument.
Steve, I think
later
Andy's
on.
coaching till. I think he's coaching to 2030.
Yes.
He'll be here for 5 more.
Let's go. Offensive coordinator, Mike. Any guesses?
Mike
I
Shanahan.
guess Sean McVay here. It's Kyle Shanahan. You got the wrong Shanahan, but yeah, I know what you meant.
Oh, yeah, Mike was the dad that coached at Denver.
Yeah, Kyle, obviously, with the he's the one that was offensive coordinator for the
Couldn't stand Mike
Falcons.
Shanahan either, man.
They're
I hate
Shannon
everything
Rats.
about Denver Broncos.
Guess who they took for defensive coordinator?
Oh, wait, I got this one. Defensive coordinator. It's not Vic Fangio. They're going to go back older. They're going to go back to the Bucks old coordinator back. Is it Lane Kiffin?
You are
Armani
incorrect.
Kiffin, I mean.
Nope.
Lane was the son or something.
Wade Phillips.
Okay.
They took Wade Phillips as defensive coordinator, and then as a special teams coordinator, they busted out the one, the only, Mr. Dave Tobe, ladies and
Dave
gentlemen.
Tobe's on the list, ladies
Let's
and gents.
go.
Dave Tobe. Look at him. Looking suave right there, Davis.
Look at them glasses.
Can I call him
brother.
Davis? Davis Tobe. It sounds more.
David.
Well, no, I
Tobe.
think it would be David.
David Tobe with the glasses, baby. That's
David
pretty cool,
Tobe.
though. I thought overall the Chiefs were represented well.
Considering
this.
Andy could have made that list too, man. We had
Andy
a lot
could have
of
made the
them.
list.
Spags could have made that list.
I think a few guys could have made this list. I think Spags could have made the list. I think he should have over Wade Phillips. And then also, Andy could have easily made the list there. I think that you had an argument for potentially Tyreek Hill.
Oh, Tyreek Hill had an argument.
Absolutely. And I was trying to think. There was one other one I thought there was a good argument for, and I can't remember off the top of my head.
For the Chiefs?
Yeah. Who was it?
let me
It's slipping
think.
my mind right now. Obviously, the body of work wasn't there for Butker yet, or else he could be considered in that top.
Right. But when you're just taking a 3-year stretch for
I'm
like
taking
Christian
Butker.
McCaffrey, you almost
Yeah.
got to consider Creed Humphrey. He's been crazy
You're
his
right,
first
right,
3
right.
years.
Yeah, you know they weren't going to give that to him over Kelsey. though.
No, but I'm just saying he could be a backup. He could be on that. He could be on that team, right? As an honorable mention or whatever, practice squad.
Absolutely. Well, guys, appreciate you all being here. Do us a favor, hit the like button if you haven't already, all that good stuff. Share it out with a friend. We're going to be here for a while longer tonight, probably go over the hour mark easily. We have another thing to talk about here. If you saw the thumbnail, you probably wondered why is Aaron Rodgers on the thumbnail? Yeah, I thought about that too, Kevin Gable. That's the first thing. Isn't that the first thing? Like, as like prolific as Dave Tobe is a special teams coordinator, the first thing that comes to your mind is, why do you have Sky Moore returning punts?
That was his biggest blunder.
He might have ruined Sky Moore's career, bro.
No, Kevin Capel with question of the day, because I mean you have to ask that, right? You say
It's
how
funny
in the
because
world?
that's where my mind goes sometimes. I think about Tobe. I'm like, that was a questionable decision. Like, he could have cost us a second round draft pick there, and we kind of did. I think he killed him. Killed his confidence. But yeah, anyway,
Sky.
moving on. Like I said, if you wonder why Aaron Rodgers was gracing the thumbnail, there's a reason for that. The second talking point we have for the night would be Big Ben Roethlisberger on his podcast said that I would take
Ben.
Aaron in his prime over Patrick. So let's talk about this for a minute, because this is a debate.
That's slap nut behavior, Steve.
Aaron in his prime versus Patrick. What are we thinking here, Mike? What's the first thing that comes to mind besides bullshit?
Look, to me, he don't have the rings. He's always had better receivers his entire career. He's had better running backs in the backfield. He's
potentially.
he's had better offensive lines than Patrick Mahomes has had. And I would think that some of those early defenses for the Packers were just as good or better than anything we've had. Except for here recently. We've kind of bumped this up over the past few years, but Man, I don't know. I think that's a little biased towards Roethlisberger, just feeling like Rodgers is more his era, and he wants to give him some. Look, people pick on Rodgers
I have
a
a
little
theory.
bit because he's weird and things, but he's good.
I have a
but
theory.
I mean, it's not Mahomes, baby.
I have a theory. First of all, Aaron Rodgers' prime, unreal. And I think
He was
that
good,
I think that is where Patrick Mahomes modeled his game from, and he'll tell you that out of his mouth.
100%.
Aaron Rodgers was the first person to make some of the insane plays that you see Patrick Mahomes make today. Like the throws, the scrambling around, making things happen, impossible throws, different arm angles, crazy back across the field kind of stuff. I do
Dude,
think
just
Aaron
football
Rodgers,
intelligence. Rodgers knows what he's doing.
I think Rodgers changed the quarterback position, and I think that Patrick Mahomes came in and made that official.
Yeah,
I think
he validated it.
Yes, Patrick Mahomes validated it, and now every quarterback in this league is modeled after Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers, prime Aaron Rodgers. So I think
who
this
they
is
want,
an
yeah.
argument. This is an argument to have. I think it's not as simple as saying, well, that's just wrong. Like, okay, I do think it's wrong. I think I would take Patrick Mahomes over prime Aaron Rodgers. And the reasons that I say that are more postseason success. I think that he's just as good of a leader as Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers also comes with a lot of baggage that Patrick Mahomes does not. I don't know, man. I think there is an argument there, and I think that it's okay if someone said they would take prime Rodgers over Mahomes right now. But I think if Mahomes continues on the trajectory he's on, and he plays as many years as Aaron Rodgers, I don't think there's any question here. Everybody would pick Patrick Mahomes. But you have to think it's prime. So it's just those, and prime Aaron Rodgers. And here was my theory I was going to get to. Ben Roethlisberger is the one that said this.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers won his only Super Bowl against Ben Roethlisberger and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I
Right,
think it's
so
one of
it
those things where it's like,
Roethlisberger.
he beat me, so he's the best to ever do it.
Right.
You know what I'm
Which is-
saying? Like, I
yeah,
think that's where that comes from.
That's what I was
I think
saying.
that's
a
the
little bit
place
of
where he.
bias.
I think that's the place where he was coming from with that, honestly. And it's like you said, it's also the era he played with him, and things like that. But I do think that Patrick Mahomes, I'm taking him over prime Aaron
Look, I
Rodgers any
think,
day. Y'all let us know in the
honestly-
chat what you think.
Honestly, their journeys as quarterbacks are they're pretty far apart, as in different situations, but it is almost the same situation in a way. Mahomes was a little bit disrespected, and when the Chiefs took him at number 10, a lot of people scoffed at that. They thought it was weird, and then Aaron didn't even
Yeah.
get picked in the first round, right? Like they were pretty much passing him everywhere he went.
Yeah. Mike,
he
I
had
mean,
to
how
come
many-
in and he had
how
to
many
come fill in
Chiefs
for Brett
fans-
Favre, man, and he continued the success, which was hard to do.
They had similar paths, right? Because he didn't get to start the minute he got in the league. He sat behind Brett Favre, like you said, for I think 3 seasons. Patrick Mahomes only had to sit 1 season behind, which is funny enough. Alex Smith, the guy that was taken over Aaron Rodgers in that draft.
Number 1, yeah.
Yeah, so I think I get it. But yeah, there were a lot of Chiefs fans, Mike, even back when Patrick Mahomes was drafted, that were absolutely irate, that wanted Deshaun Watson. They wanted Wacker. And how many people?
From everything
How many
we were
people did
told
we
in
have
that
to be
entire-
like, hey, Mahomes probably gonna be good.
From every thing we were told that offseason, Deshaun Watson was it.
He was the guy.
Everybody else was overlooked, and then when the Chiefs made that move all week long, it was Deshaun Watson. That's who they were coming to get. So when they announced Patrick Mahomes, now there was some rumblings right before, but
Yes.
from everything that everybody thought, they thought it was going to be Deshaun Watson. Then when Mahomes,
I take great pride in the fact that we have a chat, like a messenger chat between me, Mike, and Pops. And I take great pride in the fact that about a week before the draft, I said, the Chiefs are going to trade up for Patrick Mahomes. That's everything I'm hearing. Do you remember that?
yeah.
And I remember Pops being like, I don't know if they would do that. Like, I don't know if they'll take that
Well,
shot.
because
Well,
the
they
Chiefs
did.
routinely screw that up. They screw that position up a lot, especially in their past. And it almost felt as though they could have been doing it again, because you were sitting there being told that Deshaun Watson was just the cream of the crop, and Mahomes was some crazy gunslinger
Well, I
that nobody
absolutely
knew
think-
about. And it sort of felt like, oh my God, did they do it again? Did they really miss?
I absolutely think that
Brett
every
Veach
Chiefs
knew
fan,
it,
whether they want to
baby.
admit it or not, Every one of them, even though they were happy about Patrick Mahomes being the new quarterback, I think they all questioned it for a second. Like, should
Kind
they
of had to have a
taken
little bit of
Deshaun
fear
Watson?
behind it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
I think
Texas
so.
Tech's quarterbacks got those stigmas as well.
Right. And Deshaun Watson was a proven winner at that point. He had took Clemson to the national
In the
championship.
ACC,
Yeah, so
he was supposed to be a good kid. Boy, they messed that one up.
yeah, for sure.
Hey, he likes his balls tickled a little bit, okay?
A little too much.
Is that what we're mad about? No.
My gra-
Hey, Deshaun Watson got the biggest contract ever for not doing nothing.
There's no defending that guy.
Yeah, he's wild.
Good luck with that. Pop's in the house. Speaking of Pops with the 5 gifted, let's freaking go, old man. Let's go. If you got one of those memberships, make sure to thank Pops in the chat.
Pops.
Put some legendaries in the chat for the old man. Why not?
Why
Do
what
it.
Pops up so late?
Pops.
Pops, this is 7 hours past your bedtime.
It is. He's probably
Pops
already
might
went to
be up
sleep
for
and
the
woke up.
day.
He's up for the day.
He might be up for the day.
Pops, who you taking? Prime Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes?
Oh, he's
Ah,
taking.
we
He's
already
taking. He's taking. If Pops comes back with Rodgers, I'm asking for a adoption.
We already know what's happening here. Yeah, but I mean, overall, like, what is the argument there? Because, I mean, if you go back, like you said, you think that Rodgers had better receivers. What did Rodgers have? Jordy Nelson.
He had Jordy Nelson. He had Devontae Adams
Devontae
for the
Adams.
majority of his time. He had,
But wasn't-
Randall Cobb was pretty solid.
Was it
throughout
Greg
his career.
Jennings?
He had Greg Jennings, which
Yeah, so, I mean, I think, like,
I mean, all Patrick
The-
really
a
ever
lot of
had
the-
was
a lot of
Tyreek
the-
Hill for a few years.
right. So, a lot of the rumblings during Aaron Rodgers' stint with the Packers was that they wouldn't get him pieces around him. Like, that was the whole thing, right?
Who was
They
their
wouldn't get
tight
him
end?
anybody.
Didn't they have a tight end that was pretty good for a few years?
Jimmy Graham for like
Yeah,
4
Jimmy
years,
Graham
I
for a
think.
few years.
But of course, he didn't produce like crazy. Actually,
Hey, but he
someone
was still
today,
considered a top tight end in the league there for 2 or
actually
3
someone
years.
today here kind of like made a comparison that I thought made a little bit of sense. They said Jimmy Graham was like the early 2000s Darren Waller, like he was
Love it.
supposed to be really great.
Pop says
and
Mahomes,
he did
Rodgers
produce.
sucks. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kevin says another question is why the Chiefs keep getting 49ers rejects. There's a pipeline here, man. Chiefs 49ers, there's always been a pipeline from as far back as I can remember as a child. It started maybe with like the Montana and all that, and it just kept, I don't know, just constant. Dude, does that have to be one of the biggest? I love Alex Smith, but when you look back on it, not taking Rodgers at number 1 overall and letting him fall that far and taking Alex Smith number 1, is that maybe one of the biggest blunders in QB selection history?
I mean, you could say that, but at the same time, I mean, Alex Smith was a good quarterback. He had a good record over the
He
years.
had a bad situation.
A lot of stats, but I mean, let's be honest here. Rodgers has won 1 Super Bowl, guys. Like, yeah, he was insane. They gave him the MVP every year, you know, but like, MVP's kind of invalidated to me when they gave it to Josh Allen this season. Like, to me now, it's like, that's MVP something they'll give you as a consolation prize. Because Josh Allen had no business winning it this year. If you go by statistics, you had to give it to Lamar Jackson. You had to. Whether it was people were tired of Lamar getting it or not, I mean, there was no argument there. And they gave it to Josh Allen anyway. Why? Because he can't get to the Super Bowl. He just can't do it. So they're like, here's your MVP. I mean, honestly, so it kind of invalidates MVPs to me.
Yeah, I mean, it was a sympathy vote, wasn't it, for poor old
Right. Well, I think overall,
Joshy?
I think that Patrick Mahomes has a better attitude. His teammates are going to like him better. Now, they both have the same passion, I think, the same fire. Rodgers just comes off more harsh, right? Rodgers is going to say things out of pocket.
Look, here's the thing about Aaron Rodgers, too, though, because a lot of people are just looking at the end of his career. But Rodgers
Yeah,
is a little...
we're talking prime Rodgers.
Yeah, Rodgers was a little different. Look, when he come out of... Look, nobody wanted him. He went to a D2 or D3 school. He went to a community college. Then Cal Berkeley took him a little bit to come in and play. Then he got overlooked in the draft. He's always had a chip on his shoulder. He's not like the big overbearing personality that wants to be in the limelight, which is kind of weird because he says stuff that keeps him in the limelight. But I don't know. I think Rodgers is liked by his teammates. People that know Rodgers probably like him. From the outside perspective, I feel like people don't like him. But you know what I mean? Because
Well,
it
I
seems
think
like
a lot of
Devontae Adams, even all that
Let's
time,
be
he's
honest
tried to
here,
follow
though.
him everywhere.
It's 2025. There's a lot of people who don't like Aaron Rodgers because of his politics or things that he
or
says.
just anything.
Right. And he also, not only that, so, I mean, that's polarizing. And then on top of
Yeah.
that, he's crazy, talking about going on ayahuasca retreats and stuff and darkness retreats. And, like,
Hey,
he's wild.
You are what you are. Some people think they're a frying pan.
But then,
He can go on a darkness retreat, bro.
dude, he just does not have a likable personality.
Would
He
you
was
rather
very-
watch your highlights of the Jets season last year? Would you rather just live in total darkness?
He might have been onto something.
You're taking total darkness over that all day. Okay?
He might have been onto something there.
Yeah.
Mike, I think it's official. I think we would take Patrick Mahomes over prime Aaron Rodgers. Right? Is there anyone out there?
Steve, we're homers.
Anyone
We would
that-
take him over Brady.
Look, well, of
sadly.
course. But even hey, set the Homer aside. Set
Okay.
the Simpson over to the side. And who are you taking? You're still taking Patrick Mahomes. Like, just logically, you have to. So, I mean, I don't think there's anybody in this chat that is going to be like, hey, I'd take Prime Rodgers. I just don't.
No. Unless there's an Eagles fan in here, then they'll try to convince you that Jalen Hurts
Well.
is better.
And then I would turn around and tell them that Jalen Hurts is basically Tua with a better team. And they wouldn't like that very much.
You know they're in here somewhere.
You know they're in
They
here.
can't get
Mike, going
enough
back
of
to the
it.
poll, I'm going to end this poll. This one is going to actually throw you for a little bit of a loop here. 61% of people think they would
Takes
take
Priest
Jamal
Holmes, huh?
Charles over Priest Holmes.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah. That's what I said.
I actually
Threw you a
thought there would be.
curveball.
I actually thought maybe. I would say like it's just maybe recency bias, but a lot of the people in here aren't a bunch of young pups. So they've been through all the eras.
Well, I mean, if you think back to it, and granted, we were very young, but I mean, even people that weren't, Priest was an absolute beast, but Jamal Charles was insane, right? I mean, Jamal Charles, like, he was all the Chiefs had, so I feel like there's a special place in the hearts of Chiefs fans for Jamal Charles, because there was a time where he was it.
Yeah, when we just went through those bad years.
And then on top of that, I mean, he's the all-time leader in yards per carry average. He's just insane. He had that crazy game against the Raiders where he had like 5 touchdowns.
Hey, Priest had that too, though. I
Yeah,
want to say
so,
it was against the Raiders too.
no way.
I'm pretty sure.
Raiders, the Raiders are just the, yeah.
Steve,
they're
the
like
Raiders suck. They've always sucked. That's why, like, when people fight and they say, "What's your biggest, arch nemesis?" I don't. My entire years, like I said, like I watch football all the time, but like once you get out of high school and you become an adult a little bit, you
You hated the
choose.
Broncos more, right?
The Broncos were always the ones that were the more relevant team. They were the ones that tried to dominate the offseason and go pay Peyton Manning. To
They were
come
also
in.
the ones that was whooping the Chiefs' ass all the time too.
And
right?
then it's
So-
just the Raiders have always just been a crap. They sucked. Like
No
I
one
just
cared.
I didn't care about them.
They tried to make it a thing again with Derek Carr and them. Do you remember that game where they kept throwing flags like 7 times just for them to get the game-winning touchdown? Do you remember that game?
Yeah, I remember that.
They tried to make it a thing then. But
I remember when
think
you made that a YouTube short and people loved it, and then YouTube said
brother.
that YouTube stole all the money for it.
Why wouldn't
Remember
they?
that one?
That's what they do.
YouTube loves stealing money.
That's what they do. You guys get in the chat. If you have any last-minute questions or anything, get those in there. We're going to be here for a few more minutes. We appreciate you guys. Once again, we'll beg you, like usual, hit the like button. Just takes a second. Also, if you're not a member yet, you should definitely do that. If you didn't get one of those free ones tonight, suck it up, baby. $4.99 a month. It's nothing. It's a bag of potato chips. Get it done. Join.allchiefedup.com. Why,
bag of
Mike?
potato
Why, you
chips.
might ask? Because we have a members-only live stream coming up this weekend. We also are about to release the first of a members-only series where we have Garrick Dieter on the hot seat. That's a fun game, and we're going to have lots more of those to come. So if you're not a member, join.allchiefedup.com. Get it done, and we'll see you this weekend on the members-only live stream. That's always a fun time, hanging out with the ACU crew. So I think that you should definitely do that. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel or if you're new, hit that subscribe button. We're getting ready to get the season underway, man. I think it starts with training camp. It's all downhill from there. I mean, training camp runs right into preseason right into regular season, and we are back in full swing of
It
Chiefs
never
football,
ends.
baby.
It never
It's
ends.
great. I think we're getting out of the dark ages of 2025, though. We only have a little bit left, just a little bit left. The draft always helps you get through, right? Because if it wasn't for the draft and the way they kind of do it, like, could you imagine if they did the NFL draft like the NBA draft, where like the Super Bowl was played and 2 weeks later they're doing the draft?
That would suck. 'Cause
Yeah,
it would
bro.
just be too quick.
Yeah,
Not to mention, you can't really put any time into learning players and stuff because we would still be playing up into deep in the playoffs.
right. Yeah, it's pretty wild. Yeah, man, I see a lot of people saying Jamal Charles was the dog and all that. And here, let me say this. I will say this. For me and my Chiefs fandom, Jamal Charles is one of my favorites. Period. Because like in a bulk of it was just screaming "Go JC, baby," because he was scoring touchdowns, right? Like I had the Jamal Charles jersey. Like he was probably one of the Chiefs that like we first fell in love with, right? Like not necessarily, there were lots more, but I mean, like I think he was just like that next level. Like he was just that guy. Like I said, the teams didn't have a whole lot, and he was the bell cow. That's the one that everybody loved because he was a beast.
Yeah, Jamal Charles was fun. But, you know, we've had more decent players. I mean, look, Larry Johnson had a couple really good seasons with us. I mean, he kind of went crazy.
Larry Johnson was an absolute freaking
beast
monster.
in a couple years, yeah.
I think people like forget how ridiculously dominant Larry Johnson was in a short period of
It
time.
was wild, dude.
Like, dude, he was insane. Like,
And
it's
then he did
crazy.
this.
He got born. He
I
was
guess.
born?
He was doing, remember he'd always throw up the diamond or whatever it was?
I thought you were like
What are
showing
you
a birth.
thinking? I
That's
wasn't,
what it looked like to me. I was like, "What are you doing?"
he said, I'm birthing myself a
Yeah,
2,000
that dude
yard
was
season.
crazy though. That's crazy. What about speaking of old Chiefs players? I think do you think Dwayne Bowe would be an absolute monster in a different era of Chiefs football?
Yeah, Dwayne Bowe with Patrick Mahomes would have been pretty fun to watch.
That would have been nuts, bro. Dwayne Bowe don't get enough credit because he just had bad quarterbacks.
You know who Patrick Mahomes would have had? He'd have had John Baldwin. That's who they'd have given him. Jonathan
John Baldwin.
Baldwin.
Make it work, baby.
Pittsburgh's finest.
Was Larry the 90s?
Sammy Parker.
Nah, Larry Johnson was early 2000s.
Larry Johnson.
Like 2005.
one of the
let me-
first Chiefs games ever. Larry Johnson was before Jamal, yeah. So
He was after Priest Holmes, though, so he had to be in the 2000s. Right?
Yeah, I think he was.
Yeah. Larry
Like
Johnson.
2003, 4, 5, somewhere in that range.
Give me 2 seconds. I'll tell you exactly
Maybe even a little-
when it was.
Maybe even a little later.
From
Maybe around, like-
03 to 09, he was the chief.
Yeah.
Check this out, though. 2005 and 2006, this guy
Yeah.
was a monster.
he was different.
He had 1,750 yards rushing, an average of 5.2 yards per rush, 20 touchdowns. That's insane in one season. And then in 2006, he had 39 more yards than that with 17 touchdowns. So dude was crazy, and he was a home run hitter too. A lot of people forget his like big play ability. He had a 49-yard long in one season, 47, 54, a 65-yard touchdown. So this dude was like, he was a monster, bro. He just fell off there towards the end of the Chiefs, and then he went to the Bengals for 1 year, and I think he actually ended up with Washington and maybe Miami for a second, but he never really played.
Yep. Pops brings
So-
this up. He said LJ against Denver was his first live game at Arrowhead. Me too. Me and Pops went. We ate Gates
Nice.
barbecue for the first time. That was our first trip to KC, man. Like I said, we were a bunch of Kentuckians that, you know,
The
like
Beverly
we
Hillbillies.
we wasn't the
Beverly
poorest
Hillbillies go
family
to
growing
Kansas
up,
City.
but we just didn't have money to take a trip to KC every other week. So yeah,
Right.
like that was the first time we did it, and now we make it a point to get back all the time.
Just to add on to the 2005 year and the 2006 season of Larry Johnson, he had enough receiving yards in both of those years to put him over 2,000 all-purpose yards for both seasons, and tacked on an extra 3 touchdowns there. So he went nuts, bro. He averaged 20 touchdowns a season there and over 2,000 yards all purpose.
Yeah, he kind of went crazy though, didn't he?
He went nuts, dude. So that's pretty nuts.
You think he got a little bit of the Antonio Brown thing going?
Some CTE?
Maybe.
It's a possibility. You never really know. He did go a little crazy. I think he turned into like this crazy conspiracy theorist. And then he tried to. Wasn't Larry Johnson one of the players that tried to convince everybody that the NFL was scripted and he was going to leak the scripts? That they would tell him what to do. Well, if you were that good, if you had that good of a couple seasons and you were that like,
yeah. Do you want to?
Why would you
want to
even
have 2 great seasons like that and then try to convince everybody that it was scripted?
It was fake.
Dude,
yeah, he might have got hit in the head one too many times.
He said I actually was horrible, and they give me 2,000 yards that year.
It's hilarious. Well, we appreciate you guys being here tonight. You guys that donated, you guys are freaking awesome, gifting out memberships. You guys are legends. Appreciate you all. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hitting the like button, all that good stuff. Be on the lookout for more content. We'll have another video for you coming Saturday. We are going to be doing a members-only live stream this weekend as well. And we'll, like I said, we'll be starting to release some members-only content videos. We got a whole series getting ready to come at you sooner than later. So get over there, join at join.allchiefedup.com. Hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, all that fun stuff. And we'll see you next time. Go Chiefs.
Wow.